kidnapped by jihadis in the UK for being Jewish. This is a crazy story that is only now kind of getting some coverage. In a harrowing case that lays bare the dangers faced by Jews, even in the heart of the United Kingdom, three men were recently sentenced to over 8 years in prison for kidnapping Israeli music producer Itay Kashti in a violent anti Semitic plot. The attackers, Faiz Shah, Mohammad Comrie, and Elijah Ogunnubi-Sime, posed as music executives and lured Kashti to a remote cottage in rural Wales under the guise of a recording camp and assaulted him the moment he arrived. Wearing kind of Guy Fawkes-style masks, they beat him, chained him to a radiator, and threatened his life. Quote, they said that they were going to kill me and they chained me, handcuffed me to a pipe. I was bleeding, shocked, Kashti recalled. His taxi driver also attacked and managed to escape, prompting the kidnappers to panic and flee. Alone and injured, Kashti freed himself and called the police. Judge Catherine Richards ruled that he was, quote, targeted due to his Jewish heritage and that the plot was motivated by both money and a rising global tide of anti Israel hatred. Though Kashti has since healed physically, the trauma lingers. Quote, if they do turn into better people, then it was worth locking them up, he said. Okay. So this is a crazy story. And part of the reason why I think it didn't get any coverage is because when this first happened, like basically the victim, Ite, like he and by the way, people can pronounce me if I'm correct me if I'm pronouncing his name wrong. Is it Ite? Itai? Um anyways, uh he actually didn't give any interviews to the media until after the case was finished. So I think that might be part of why it didn't receive as much attention for how crazy this story is. Um and the judgment came out late last month. So let's like walk through what happened here from the perspective of the victim. Yeah, go ahead.
One second, I like Kenny was mentioning how is this not top world news?
Yeah.
I'm actually shocked that this is top world. Not like I, Kirk. Let me know what you think. I think if this was a Muslim person kidnapped by a couple of Jewish person, I think this would be world news right now,
Well, yeah, because that'd
everywhere.
be much more uncharacteristic.
Hmm. But okay, so this is so normal that people like, yeah, okay.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it's just
It's
because
just,
this is like a UK
it's just
thing. I don't
normal.
know.
It's just normal to. It's so normal to just be
Another day in
anti-Jewish
Britain.
that doesn't make it doesn't make the news. Okay, all right. God damn
Dude,
it.
it's
All right.
crazy. Okay, so let's go through like the series of events from the perspective of Itai. So basically, um, he's this random guy. He's from Israel. I think he grew up in Tel Aviv and he moved to the United Kingdom like about almost 20 years ago. So he's been living in the UK for very long time, like half of his life. And he's a music producer, just doing his career, whatever. And one day he gets an email. And it's an email from some supposed group of like music producers that basically they are saying, "Oh, we're a fan of you and we want you to come to like an artist retreat. We want you to kind of come to this like artist camp, blah blah blah." And he's like, "Oh, okay, that sounds kind of cool." Like the people that wrote the emails, they don't sound like they're the most knowledgeable in the industry. Like he said in interviews that he describes the how he perceived their communications as like they're very green. Like, oh, they must be new to the industry. Like that's okay. Like, oh, I'm interested in going to this like artist retreat, this like camp, sure. And so it gets arranged, and they're like, okay, cool, we're gonna send transportation for you. And so one day a taxi shows up and at his house and the taxi is going to take him from his place all the way to the retreat in like a remote area of Wales. So they set up for him to get this transportation in a taxi. So he's now in this taxi for like 5 hours, right? And it's kind of funny in the interviews that he gives, he talks about how when he gets in the taxi, he can tell that his taxi driver is Muslim. And at one point, the taxi driver is like, "Oh, where are you from?" And Itay, like, he says, because he knows, because he's Israeli, that a lot of people are going to hate him. So he he doesn't he goes, "Oh, well, I'm not gonna tell you where I'm from, like, why ruin a nice conversation," basically. Like, because he's, like, self-conscious about it. And but eventually, like, he actually is like, "Oh, yeah, I'm from Israel, blah, blah, blah," and he actually has, like, a lovely, really nice conversation for this 5-hour drive with this taxi driver, you know? So anyways, they get to this little remote cottage in Wales that is, I think, an Airbnb that the attackers have rented. And it's actually a super good thing that this taxi driver was with him. And Ite credits this taxi driver who's Muslim with like actually helping to save his life. Because when he was going into this like Airbnb or this cottage, it in the interviews, it's not super clear, but basically there was, like, something weird about he was having trouble getting in, and the taxi driver was there to, like, help him. I think probably he was like, "Oh, can you not leave until I make sure I can get in? Because otherwise it's gonna be impossible to get another car, like an Uber out here," right? So the taxi driver is, like, right with him, actually, like, at the, um at the door. And he was like, "Oh man, for an artist retreat, like it seems a little empty. This is a little eerie, blah blah blah." And then as soon as they actually get into the door or open into the building, he's immediately attacked. Immediately attacked by these three guys, and they're wearing like creepy, fake masks, like plastic masks. So they're assaulting him, beat the shit out of him, kicking his head, and the taxi driver also gets attacked. And what happens though is that the taxi driver is closer to the door and he's also a bigger guy. So he's able to flee the cottage. And when the taxi driver runs away, this makes the attackers panic. And in the meantime, they had like taken Ite, they had beaten him, they'd handcuffed him, they'd chained him to this like pipe on a radiator, they'd taken his phone off of him, like taken a bunch of stuff. And he's, in this mentality of like, this is freaking happening right now. Like this is insane. And he's saying, like, as an Israeli, like as a Jew born in Israel, like what I'm thinking of right now is October 7th. He's like, "I'm being taken hostage right now. Like, this is my October 7th." And he's thinking about his wife and kids and like, what the fuck is happening right now? Anyways, so when the attackers realize that this taxi driver has escaped, like they weren't planning for this. And so they're immediately probably thinking, "Oh, this guy's going to go alert the authorities." So they kind of just split and they all just flee. Meanwhile, Ite, like he manages to get himself, like, unchained from the radiator because apparently they did a really shit job, like, they the descriptions are a little bit unclear, but they chained him to a part of the radiator where it seems like he could just, like, lift his handcuffs off? I don't know. And
Wow.
so then he's all fucked up. He's injured. His like eye is closed. I think he's still handcuffed at this point. It's not entirely clear. And he grabs his phone that had been sitting that they had taken off of him. And then he grabs his Martin guitar. Um and in the interviews he gives, he like repeatedly talks about how he's like, "I can't leave my Martin guitar behind." Um, because for those who are not musicians, like Martin guitars are like very valuable, like they're very special. And so he talks about how he's like, I had to get my guitar. So he grabs his guitar and then he starts running out. And basically, he is walking down this road in the middle of freaking nowhere. He looks like all fucked up. He has his guitar, and he sees a car pass him. He tries to wave down the car. The car passes him, and he finds out later that the driver of the car thought that he was signaling to not stop and to go get help. So it's not that the driver, like, left him behind, is like, he thought, "Oh, I need to go get help, so I'm, like, going to go do that right away." And in the meantime, he Itay, like, he calls his wife and is like, "I was almost taken hostage, like, what the hell?" And then, sends her his location, and then she sends it to the police and blah, 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 blah. Basically, you know, the meanwhile, the taxi driver had also gone to alert the authorities, and, so and they go find the attackers and everything, and now we've gone through the whole court case, and they had firearms on them. They found the handcuffs that he had, like, in the bushes and stuff. Like, it was crazy. So, most of the attackers have been sentenced to about 8 years in prison. The guys that did it were like 20 years old, 22 and 23. And it's so interesting because it's based on what I've seen online or reporting, is that the three of them somehow met online and decided to start organizing this in this Telegram chat. And there clearly is an Islamic angle, but it's very weird. Like, it's not entirely clear what their freaking deal is. Like, kidnapped by Gen Z. Um, so here's the quote from one of the attackers in a message, quote, "Each one of us has 100% faith in Allah, so we cannot fail." Quote, "No remorse for a man like this. He ain't just some Jew doing it for the money. He actually loves this shit." So they had come up with this, like, their their plot seems to be like somewhat Islamic, but also just based off of like Jewish anti-Semitic stereotypes in general. Like, so for example,
It's the same
they
thing, though.
they seem to have this belief that because he was a Jew working in the music industry, that he was like super rich. Like, that's kind of a stereotype. And in the interviews, Ite is like, "I'm not rich. I don't drive a Bentley. I have a Nissan." Like, but the idea was to actually like hold him for ransom.
You failed at being a Jew.
Yeah, and they're like they seem to believe that he had some sort of investments in like settlements in the West Bank or something. And he's
Oh.
like, that's definitely not true. That never happened. It's not even entirely clear why he was targeted, besides just like they found some random
Because
Israeli
he's a
working.
because he's a Jew, that's why he got targeted,
No,
he's a
it's
Jew,
like
that's
it's not that simple because there are lots of Jewish people working in any industry. You know what I mean? It's like, why this guy specifically? He isn't even like a super political person seemingly. Like, he did
but
a
that's the point that it was
performance
an
to support
easy
like hostages in Israel, but that seems like it was about it. And they're like, they just believed that he was like some rich Jew working in the music industry, and they're like, this is our guy. And they had very clear like anti-Jewish animus in their text messages, and the judge talks about this in some of the statements that have come out, basically being like, it's very clear with the way that they talk about him that they deem him as like less worthy of dignity or respect, and like because he's a Jew. Like, it's very clear in the way that they're talking about him. um and this poor guy is like in interviews talking about, like, it made me wonder if I made the right decision to live in the United Kingdom.
Yeah,
like I've been here for almost 20 years. Like, is this right? Like, am I safe here? Like after an
with
experience like
Israel.
this, you like fundamentally question if you're safe. Like it's a complete, I don't know how to put it. Like your trust has been broken in your environment.
Makes you think that maybe you need a country for Jewish people to protect themselves, huh? Makes you wonder. Maybe it makes you think like, maybe like there's nowhere safe for
Yeah.
Jews, and maybe Jewish people just required to have a place that they could have as their own country. Maybe like maybe these three stooges helped us understand why Zionism is a thing. Hmm?
Yeah. And anyways, like he talks about how his friends or family back home will be like, "Oh, do you like living in the UK? Are you safe? Do you experience anti-Semitism?" And he said I can honestly say I have not experienced anti-Semitism in the UK like until this. Like this is crazy. He also had this joke in one of the articles where he was like, um Uh, I don't know if I can find it, but he's like, only a Jewish or Israeli born person would get kidnapped and beaten and say that they were lucky. Like basically saying like I'm lucky that that's the only thing that happened to me. Which is kind of like gallows humor. Um but yeah, this was I don't know why this has not gotten more coverage. This is insane. The only
Yeah.
what I think is part of it is that kind of he hasn't really come out publicly in the media until after the court case wrapped up.
Hmm. This should be a movie, I think. I mean, it's just like so normal. Like, yeah, yeah, another. I don't know. So many people don't know. Do people know how the level of anti-Jewish? And by the way, some people are saying Muhammad was saying like, oh yeah, Europe has fallen. Maybe Jews should be like some other people, and Muhammad and other people were suggesting that maybe United States is better for Jewish people than European countries. Honestly, there's nowhere on this planet that Jews is so. It's just so the stress associated with being a Jew is just so high. A lot of people, I don't know if they understand it, and I think some younger Jewish people also did not understand this up until recently, up until
Mhm.
October 7th. They're now noticing because I noticed a lot of younger Jewish people in Europe and North America thought like, oh yeah, it used to be a thing for our parents and grandparents, and now everything is okay. And now a lot of the anti-Jewish hatred that always exists within under the surface of society is like re-emerging again. And a lot of younger Jewish people in North America and Western Europe are like, oh my god, like what the fuck, like this is still here, this is still here.
Yeah. I mean,
Mm.
that wasn't really the question though. It's like where is better? There's definitely places that are
Israel,
better than others. It's
Israel's Israel's better. Israel's
no, but
better
I mean,
still, even with October.
it's a
Mhm.
spectrum though. That's what I'm saying.
Right. There are some people in the chat, some Muslims and anti-Semites in the chat are saying like, "Oh, well, IDF kidnaps children and tortures them, and Israel does this as well." I'm
You are
like, first,
literally a demonstration of what the problem is and have the same mentality as these freaking kidnappers.
yes, yes,
You
yes, yes,
self-expose ass. Like that's exactly the problem is this guy is just a random guy.
yeah. And also, like I've looked into some of those cases that people talk about. Like these are when they say children, they're talking about people who are like 16 and 17. When you say children, I think like, oh my god, did the IDF like kidnap like an 8-year-old and is torturing an 8-year-old? And then I look at it and it's like a 17-year-old that just picked up a freaking giant rock that could kill somebody and throw it at the police, or some 16-year-old that was going stabby stabby and random people in the street. I'm like, oh, and then they get arrested and put to jail. I'm like, oh my god, IDF kidnapped children. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? You said children, and I thought like it's a 5-year-old or 7-year old. This is a 16-year-old that is going stabby stabby on people. Of course they should get arrested. But yeah.
Um, let's go through the social media comments that our lovely, lovely editor D found.
Oh my god, look at these people.
Yeah. No,
That's
can I tell you something that's kind of funny? Is that these idiots in the court proceedings, some of their lawyers were like throwing them under the bus for being like idiots. Like, wait. Let me find the quotes. Wait, I have to share these quotes. Um, the the lawyer representing one of them said admitted that the plot was quote not very well planned and went wrong immediately, but his client felt regret and remorse. Another lawyer representing one of them admitted that the plot had been highly amateurish in its execution, but he also felt genuine remorse. So
Okay. Okay.
in some of the reporting I've seen of the court proceedings, like everyone is roasting them for how shit their hostage job was.
Yeah.
They're like, because it literally did go wrong immediately. It went wrong immediately.
I mean, if I was a lawyer, I would be like for these three, I would be leaning into that so much. It's like, judge, I mean, these are obviously not very smart people. Look at them. Can I plead
Dude, no, get an
insanity or
IQ
something?
test. Get an IQ test.
Yeah. Get an IQ test because yeah, if I was a lawyer, I would like, hey, let's do an IQ test. Maybe it's low enough that I could save you guys.
God
I
damn.
mean, it, there's two things that is basically defending Jews all around the world. Okay, one is Zionism. The other one is for some reason the enemies of
Is
Jews seem to have very low
retardation.
a retardation of the enemies of the Jews. Yeah. These are the two powers that are stopping Jews from being killed.
Oh,
Oh God! All
oh my
right.
god. No, it
Yeah.
actually is so bad. When I'm talking about three idiots, I usually mean the movie, not these assholes.
Right.
Um, oh my gosh. Yeah.
All right. Let's keep this going.
I think Dee was making a joke. I don't know if you started it earlier in the chat when she was saying like, "Oh, it sounds like an operation of the Islamic Republic." I don't think she means that like literally. Oh yeah, no, it is as if Iran sent them, but in the sense that like
Yeah.
it's so the
That
job was
that
so
yeah,
shit.
I highlighted it when she said that. It was so good.
To quote a report I read about Iran, is like low level of professionalism. Oh
Oh
my
God.
god.
All right. What is this one
Ay,
guy
ay, ay.
saying?
This person is saying they will come out of jail more radicalized than ever. Honestly, I did worry about that though, because we've covered on the channel how there's like jihadi indoctrination in the UK prison system.
Yeah,
That's an actual
yeah. This
problem.
is a problem with the UK. Like incompetent terrorists, like UK, were like, well, let me actually. The UK government are like, okay, these people are not very good at kidnapping Jews. Let me put them into a system and put them in touch with professionals, and then maybe they will learn a thing or two. And then next time that I put them out, they will actually carry their job more effectively. That's
No,
what the UK does. Yeah.
so bad.
All right. So here.
So
What was
this
this?
guy had a video and he was kind of going over the basic facts of the case. But then what he says at the end is basically because of how the UK justice system works, he thinks that they'll be out in like 4 years. And he's like, "Well, if I think they should be basically deported back to wherever they're from, blah blah blah." Now, I can almost guarantee that every single one of them is a born British citizen, so I don't think that's a possibility. But um can you scroll down?
Okay.
Um Oh, and then this is this is what pisses me off. Indeed knows how to find the social media comments that'll piss me off. Saying And this wasn't expected after the genocide Israel's committing and settlers eyeing up Palestinians' land to take it. Sad, but for Israelis, it's FAFO. This man, like, again, oh my God, this is like an exact demonstration of the attitudes that leads to this bullshit happening. That's what's so frustrating. Um, just by nature of the man's
I mean,
freaking nationality.
I mean, let's like even if we lived in this these people's worlds, and let's say like, oh, okay, Israel was committing a genocide, which is not okay, and all these other things that they lie about was true actually. Okay, I mean, this guy is a musician in the UK. Like, why are you blaming him? Like, why? This is victim blaming. This is like he had nothing to do with any of that. Okay,
Kenny is asking, what does
unbelievable.
FAFO mean? FAFO means fuck around and find out.
Hmm.
Wait, let me pull up the FAFO scale. I live my life by the FAFO scale.
Oh, this is Tommy.
Oh,
Tommy posted something about this.
wait.
They were so confident that this is going to work. They were like, we have Allah on our side. What could go wrong?
Yeah, we have 100% faith.
Yeah.
Wait, is it going? No. I hate the new adjustment to StreamYard. Oh
Assalamualaikum
my God.
brotherlar.
Stop.
Wait, what
Stop.
are you doing? Is
Here we
that the
go.
video? Oh, there you
This
go. Yeah.
this is
Oh,
FAFO. How much you fuck around is correlated to
ah.
how much you're gonna find out.
Oh, really? The correlation is 1 to 1? I did
Yes, it's
not
a
know.
1-to-1 correlation.
1 to 1 correlation. Okay, interesting.
You mess
Okay.
around too
And
much, these consequences, you're gonna find out.
honestly, I was expecting that to be exponential rather than linear. I didn't know it has a linear 1 to 1 relationship.
Maybe we might need to go back to the drawing board and really,
Yeah.
really determine.
Oh, that was the last one. Okay, we should
Yeah.
do the super chats and comments.
Yes. Okay.
For
Um, so, uh, Emir is asking, what's the name of the Israeli musician? Help chat. It is Itay, so Itay Kashti.
Yeah, and people were helping you with the pronunciation in the chat.
I thought I actually had a pretty decent blind guess. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, that was good.
Um, okay. So Kenny gifted 5 Atheist Republic memberships. Thank you so much, Kenny.
Thank you.
Which is
Thank
actually
you.
a very good reminder, everyone, to become a member of the Atheist Republic channel because Armin is doing some fantastic members only content right now.
Yes, you do it. By the way, there were a lot of people from Israel that in the chat they were mentioning while we were doing the story that they said that they were traveling. They would not say that they're from Israel. They will always say that they're from the U.S. or from Russia. Gene was mentioning that. I think somebody else was mentioning that they're from the U.S. And it's just like it's just so sad to feel like
Yeah.
the anxiety that you have to deal with being Israeli around the world. It's just insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Infinite Oneness gave a super chat saying, when I listen to the Azan and Muslim raises tone, especially in the starting, the more he raises tone, the more I feel like Aisha is crying for help. Well, I'm gonna be honest, that's quite the projection.
Yeah.
It's just a style of singing. Like, look, I know a lot of people don't like nasheeds and stuff, but nasheeds is like a very technical way of singing, like it's
I don't like it.
it does I know you don't have to like it, but I'm saying that it is itself a skill. It's a very
Yeah.
stylized way of singing and vocalizing. It's to do it very well, it's not easy.
Yeah. Also, Aisha herself, by the way, when she turned 18, she copied everything Muhammad did. And she was like a she waged war against Muslims and killed a whole bunch of people. So she was like, just like Muhammad was saying that, oh, I heard something from God, so do this and this and this. When Muhammad died and Aisha was 18, she was like managing armies and managing people by using the same strategy. But instead of saying, "Oh, Allah just telling me a revelation," she would say, "I just remembered that Muhammad said this and this and that." So she basically
Well, I
was
mean,
copying Muhammad.
when you're essentially being raised by your psycho cult leader of a husband, you're gonna learn his tactics. She
Yeah,
was
you're
with
gonna
the
learn
man
his
since she was 9. She's gonna that's who raised her, basically.
Yeah. And she called out Muhammad, by the way. This is according to Muslim hadith themselves. Aisha called out Muhammad by saying, like, it seems like God sends revelations to you whenever you want something.
Mhm.
God just sends out a revelation that is in line with what you want. This is
She
authentic
learned from
Islamic
the
hadith.
best. She learned from the best.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Uh,
Gaijin gave a super chat saying, "Are prisons rehabilitating brain scans and Chinese Communist Party of China brainwashing was my attempt at a compromise. My own empathy stops me from supporting AI guided neuron I think he means deletion. Well,
mm,
that is empathetic, Gaijin, to hold yourself back from complete uh totalitarianistic thought reform. Totalism. Complete
yeah.
totalism.
Do you know who makes the most amazing, gorgeous, and other adjectives that I can't use here on YouTube, blasphemous art ever? We do! And for some reason, we are giving it away for free. Download them now using the link in the description before we change our mind.